rising unsustainable costs due in large part to big gaps between what our healthcare system could do and what it is doing, is changing the way that presidential candidates are talking about healthcare reform. For those of you who have been paying attention to elections for a while, you know that traditionally what you're going to see from a presidential candidate is a proposal to cover the uninsured and bring down costs for people who have insurance. Republicans would typically propose something like tax credits. That's what President Bush did in 2000 and 2004. He proposed a $20 billion, $25 billion a year program for new assistance with costs for people who couldn't get good coverage through their job. And then the Democrats would propose something bigger, a broader, more expansive proposal that would get more people covered. But there's no longer much money available to do this. And again, if you listen carefully to the candidates, this is what they're telling you. On the Democratic side, Senator Obama and Senator Clinton both have proposals that they believe will get to universal health insurance coverage. And if you look closely at that proposal, though, one of the main sources of funding for it is what? It's to roll back the tax cuts that were implemented in 2001 and 2003 for the very wealthy, right? Well, if you listen to the campaigns themselves about what they think their proposal would cost in something like our current healthcare system, the number they tend to come up with is something like $100 billion a year. Do you know how much money you get from rolling back the tax cuts for the wealthy? It's about $40, $50 billion a year, right, Andrew? You probably know these numbers better than I do. Let's say $50 billion a year, but keep in mind several other things. First, those tax cuts are scheduled to expire anyway under current law in 2010. So from the standpoint of the quote-unquote official scoring of health insurance reform proposals, that's not new money that you can use for new government spending. It's money that's not in the government's budget baseline. In fact, the big fight in 2009 is going to be between Republicans calling Democrats tax increasers because some of them will want to vote against extending all of the Bush tax cuts. In addition, even if there is some new revenue available from tax reforms, like imposing new taxes on the wealthy or some other steps, there are some very important other priorities in federal tax policy that are going to be, I'll tell you, are going to be addressed first. Some of you have probably heard of the alternative minimum tax and how it's reaching many, many more households than it used to. Fixing the alternative minimum tax problem itself costs over $50 billion per year. So not enough money there to begin with, and money that probably is going to be spoken for other federal policy priorities. And if you want to know just how tight the budget is, many people don't agree with it, but just look at President Bush's budget that he proposed recently. Not only is there no new money in there for health care, there are real cuts in federal non-defense discretionary programs as well, the kind of money that you'd like to find to fund programs like health insurance expansions just to get to a balanced budget in 2012. And that